Hello, everyone. Good morning. I am here with our next author. So much for speaking English today. And 24 authors in 12 hours. I am here with Stephen Jacobs. Good morning, Stephen.
Hello, good morning.
And Stephen, where are you coming to us from?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. Okay, so it is 9:30 for you. I am actually in Gary, Indiana, and I am 8:30 in the morning. So I am still on that first cup of coffee, everyone.
Yeah.
And just a reminder, if anybody wants to go to our website, we have some amazing merchandise in there for 24 authors in 12 hours. And Stephen, I'm just going to get right into some questions for you. And
Okay.
I think it's always great for the audience to get an idea. So you have 3 books now, is that correct?
Well, it depends. I have 4 in the Lake Murray series, but I have about 13 books total, including standalones and that kind of thing.
Great. And what inspires your writing? What kind of haunts your thoughts and makes you think about all these crazy things? Because I am not a murder mystery person. I do say I have your book right here. I'm trying to hold it up to the screen and it's not coming through, but a really fun read if anybody wants to Lake Murray Murders. And let's talk about what inspired the series.
Well, basically, I wrote a book several years ago entitled The Whiskey Creek Murders, and it was based on the area where I live, where I grew up. I lived on Whiskey Creek in North Carolina. So this was a murder mystery based there. And when I realized after I wrote it, it really took off because people in that general area knew a lot of the landmarks and things that were in the area. So where I live here now in Columbia, South Carolina, I live literally a few miles from Lake Murray, which is a major destination for people in the state. I thought, well, what can I do to get the same kind of interest here? And so I wrote The Lake Murray Murders, and it just seemingly overnight just kind of took off. So I've had 3 more books in the Lake Murray series now, and each of them are doing equally as well. So that is basically where they came from. I just was trying to get local people interested in the area and things that I wrote and that kind of thing, and it just worked out phenomenally.
So you use local landmarks, you said.
Oh, yes, ma'am. There's local landmarks all throughout the book, several businesses. I actually petitioned several businesses and put it on Facebook and say, hey, any local business would like to be named or like to be brought into the book, text me, let me know. And I had more than I could put in the books at one time. People actually going out of their way, wanting to be involved in the books.
Well, that just sounds like fun. I feel like you could set up like a scavenger hunt or something.
Right, exactly. And one of the books is somewhat similar to that, where without giving a whole lot away, they have to go to 3 or 4 different locations scattered out. The police detectives have to go to these locations to figure out a certain clue or something, along those lines.
And so which book is that?
So it is The Woman in the Emerald Dress.
Oh, I like the cover of that one.
Yeah, it brings it does kind of like it's about paintings and that kind of thing. Several paintings are hanging up in different areas in different businesses, and the police detectives have to go to these places and examine these different paintings. So it brings a lot of the businesses in the area into the books.
So it's good for you and it's good for local businesses.
Yes.
So I have put the links to the Whiskey Murders, the Lake Murray Murders, as well as the Woman in the Emerald Dress, and of course, Stephen Jacobs' website, all in our little comment section here. So if anybody wants to look those up later, let's talk a little bit more about what inspires you. I love this part about local business. It's super, super exciting. Mm-hmm. And I also do, in my book, Decoding History, I do a lot of grounding everything into reality, because I think it makes it
Right.
so much fun and interesting. But obviously, you're not actually murdering people. Let's establish this.
Correct.
So, what inspires that part of your writing?
Well, like I said, I like to take things that are from history and put a little bit of modern day into it. So the Lake Murray murders does start off in the past. And when I say in the past, it starts off in the mid 60s. And there's a couple of deaths back in the 60s, and you have to read to see how it relates to what's happening today, what the modern day detectives are going through, and how it relates. Both of the murders relate. But I don't want to give, I don't want to give much away. But in short, there was a murder back in the 60s that relates very directly to another modern day murder here in Lexington, and the Lexington County detectives are working their way through it, trying to figure it out, and then they realize it points to another murder in the past.
Okay, so lots of murder, lots of mystery. I love this for our October theme. All things spooky, goes bump in the night, and these are the kind of books that maybe you want to read in the daytime because they might keep you up at night. I do know there's a lot of horror thriller fans out there that none of this bothers them at all. Let's talk about Ghostly Whispers Musing. Right before we had this interview, you had actually just posted that a character is kind of doing something different. Do you want to talk about this and the writing process, how this happens?
Well, I tend to have a layout of what I want to do throughout the majority of the book, but I found as I'm sitting there at the keyboard and I'm writing, I fill in a lot of things as I go. So like this morning, I literally made the guy that I had thought was going to be the bad guy. Maybe it's turning out where he's not going to be a bad guy. So we'll all be surprised together, because I have no idea how this is going to turn out yet.
I think that's super interesting on how that happens. Your stories, like you always think, oh, this is the direction it's going to go, but then life and the characters take on a role of their own.
Right, exactly. Like I said, this morning I was like, wait a minute, this is not how I had envisioned this character to be going, but that's okay. Let's go with it, see what happens.
So you are a prolific writer. What kind of monstrous obstacles have you come across, or times where maybe you had writer's block or you just were struggling? Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, sometimes I do, but sometimes there are, like, especially now with the Lake Murray Murder series, I want it to be sort of, it needs to be realistic and it needs to be accurate and that kind of thing. So I do have issues occasionally with how somebody may get away with something, or how the police would do certain things. Luckily, I have some folks around me at work that used to be prior law enforcement, and they actually, one of them I lean on quite heavily because he used to be a crime scene guy. So I would say, hey, how does this work? Or how would this work? And he's thankfully has the expertise to lead me out of my little slumps and that kind of thing.
So as a writer, you write your book, and then you have to do the editing process and the publishing process and the marketing process. What have you found to be the most challenging as a prolific author?
For me, it's got to be editing. Editing is just terrible. I have, there are several programs that I use to help me edit. Then I have other folks around me that once the book is on paper, Before it gets made live, I send it to several people. They edit it and then make their suggestions, and it just seems like it never ends. But we do the best that we can. We do not have the, as you probably know, it costs an exorbitant amount of money to have a professional editor do something. So that's, for my kind of books, my little $12 books, that's just not feasible. So we edit and edit and edit and reread and reread. By the time these books go live, I have read these books about 4 to 5 times, as well as other people. So it gets monotonous for sure.
No, I think that's a great point about the editing process. And do you have beta readers in your process? And how do you incorporate feedback as you're going through the editing process?
No, well, yes and no. I do have readers that read, like I said, after the story is all done, and actually I've ordered my author's copies. Then I pass them out to several select few people who then go through and read the books, make all their suggestions, make all their highlights. I change what I want or what I think needs to be changed, and then we start it all again.
Yeah, I had some beta readers for a book once tell me that the main character, who I wanted to go like on a hero's journey with the redemption arc, and they're like, no, this guy can't be saved. So I was like, I don't know what to do. So then I wrote in a dog, and everyone's like, okay, now he can be saved because he's got a dog, right? So, so you definitely have to like be very cognizant. Like you said, you're writing this character this morning. He's supposed to be the bad guy, but now you're like, oh, now he's not the bad guy. Now what am I going to do, right?
Right. Yeah, I have no idea what I'm going to do now because of what I just did this morning. So now I've got to go back and reevaluate the rest of the storyline.
So let's talk about your next book. What is the timeline on your next book coming out?
Well, the next standalone, which is what I'm working on now, I'm only in like chapter 5, so it's going to be multiple months down the road before it gets done and released. I'm talking, it's going to be well after the first of the year, probably March, April, somewhere through there at the very least. So it's still got a long ways to go.
Well, that is good to know. So your most current book is
Lady Lenore's Secret.
Lady Lenore's Secret. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me go ahead and put a link to that in here. And what should people know about Lady Lenore's Secret?
Lady Lenore's Secret is, I'm a bit of a history nut, so most of my books will have some sort of a history component in it. And this one is no different. This one revolves around something that happened during World War II. And I will say that Lady Lenore is not a person. It is a thing. And once you read the book, you'll understand. Once folks get interested and read the book, then they'll understand what I'm talking about. But it is, Lady Lenore is not actually a person.
Okay, well, I just put that link in, and that is book 4 of the Lake Murray series.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're continuing down that. There's no more whiskey books. How many was in that series?
Well, the Whiskey Creek Murders was one book. There was, I think, 3 in that one, but it was actually another series, and it started off that way. It was called the Hunter Gray series, and he was a 1920s police detective. So that was based, the Lake Murray Murders was based basically in the 20s.
Okay, so you've taken this whole evolution on your writing.
Yes, ma'am. I started off writing the first probably 4 books that I wrote, 4, maybe 5 books, were all centered in history back in the past. I'm a diehard. I love military history, World War II history. So the first, probably, like I said, 4 or 5 books I know were situated around World War II and around history and that kind of thing. So, but then I slowly started realizing that all the books that I had wrote were tailored towards men. And as you know, probably as you most likely know, most of the people that read books these days, probably 70-80% of people, are women. So that's why I kind of slowly started switching over to the murder mystery series, which has helped in, a lot in the way of sales.
That's super interesting because of the cozy mystery
Right.
kind of,
Exactly.
that genre niche. People love those kind of curl up and nothing too graphic. Get a nice little cup of coffee or hot chocolate and read a book. And this fall weather, which is why we're doing the show in October, this kind of all things that go bump in the night. These are those kind of perfect cozy mystery, not too graphic.
Yes, and that's a perfect way to put of how my books are. They're quick, easy reads. They're for the most part clean. There's nothing going to be in there majorly drastic. There will be some blood and stuff like that, but there's nothing horribly graphic like Friday the 13th and Jason cutting people up. Nothing like that. They're good, clean, quick reads that I make them in purposely so they're easy to read, easy to follow, and you can do them in a weekend easily.
A weekend? This is the book that you can do in a night if you're like a
hard. Yeah, you could.
It's definitely like a quick read. If it has a good feel, I want to just open up. I don't want to read the epilogue. I do want to go into just chapter 1. I don't like to read too far ahead, especially in a mystery, because I feel like I'm gonna give some secret away, right?
Right.
So I opened up before. Let me see where I'm at. Clayton and Stone here. So let's just kind of get an idea on your head of what you were thinking when you were doing this. 15 minutes later, both cars pulled into the parking lot of the old mill in the heart of Lexington. The old mill was aptly named because in its heyday, at the turn of the century, it was a massive working mill made of huge timbers and granite. The mill worked 24 hours a day, turning raw cotton into cloth, mattress covers, and other bedding materials. Now the old mill has been repurposed into different types of stores, shops, and restaurants, including a local favorite, Creekside Restaurant. Now back together again, the two detectives walked up the sidewalk towards the restaurant's double doors. An older couple was walking out of the restaurant as they walked up. Before the detectives even got inside, they could smell the inviting smell of bacon cooking among other breakfast foods. As soon as the two detectives walked into the small yet ample waiting area, they heard one of the waitresses say, "Hey, y'all," in a cheerful and friendly voice. "Is it just the two today?" "Just us," someone said, smiling back. As the waitress took the two detectives to the usual booth, she asked, "Do you want your usual to drink?" "That's fine with us," Clayton said as they slid into the long booth. And what I love about this is it really has that vibe of that local community. Like I can picture the waitress, and now what I'm assuming is those are all real businesses.
They are. The old mill is dead in the heart of Lexington, and it is exactly what it used to be. It did used to be a working mill, and it's massive, made out of massive timbers and blocks and that sort of thing. It was built in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and it has all been completely repurposed now, and it is a fully functioning. There's a whole bunch of different shops and that kind of thing, including Creekside Restaurant.
I think that is so awesome to know that there's a real Creekside restaurant, and you could go and find this booth and sit there and read this book.
Yes, and what brought that in is because I eat there personally all the time. I have seen not off duty, but I have seen plainclothes detectives in there eating because it is not far from the Lexington County Sheriff's Department. So I know for a fact that deputies and detectives do eat there. So that's one reason why that is in the book, because it is real and true.
I love this about the book, and what I really like too is, you've got this very easy to read dialogue. The description is there, so it's enough that you get to the place, but it's not like so lost in description that you can't get through the richness.
Right. I guess we have all, I'm sure, at many different times have read books that are so hard or tough to follow that you have to go back and keep rereading several different sections or chapters to understand what's going on. My books are made specifically so you don't have to do that. They're made to be, because books are made to be read that are fun and entertaining and get you away from your everyday normal life. So that's why I try to make my books as best as I can easy to read and easy to follow, but yet keep you entertained so you don't automatically know what the ending's going to be.
So I want to just kind of rephrase that again, because I love what you said so much. Because when I talk to authors, sometimes when I'm coaching, they're kind of lost. And I'm like, you have to know who your audience is. Like your book can't be everything to everyone. And you just said, these books are designed for you to get that escape from the everyday and to just be a nice, easy read. And I love that cozy mystery description of it, because it's like, this is not going to be that book that's like Schindler's List. It's like changing your life or something, right? Like this book is meant to be that weekend escape on a rainy autumn weekend. And, we're getting some good weather for that lately. That kind of give her a little bit of a book and drink some hot cider and have the cat or the dog on your lap and just read a cozy book. It doesn't have to be profound. You don't have to read War and Peace. This is, and I mean, people who want to read War and Peace, great books, love the classics, but it's good to know your audience and who you're writing to. And, when it comes to authors, we live off reviews. Reviews is what makes and breaks us. And I think it's important to know, like, this book is not designed to change your life. And if it doesn't, that's okay.
That's exactly right. And they're only a couple hundred pages long at the most. So that way, everybody's busy now. A lot of people don't have time to read a 500-page book. It might take you a month or two to read a 500-page book. My books, you don't have to worry about that, because you got a couple of hours here and there. You can finish it like you said, off and on. If you read it, you can read it start to finish in a night, or you can break it up in a weekend. It's not going to take you that long to read those books.
I love that you know your audience, you know your design. I love that you're supporting local businesses. I mean, that's such an important thing. So besides buying on Amazon, where I've posted several links, you can also buy these then locally if you come and tour down there in South Carolina?
The only place right now that they are available is actually Creekside Restaurant. Creekside Restaurant does sell autographed copies.
Oh my gosh. So I just randomly picked the one restaurant where the books, I feel like people are going to look at it thinking like, oh, you guys coordinated this, but what an awesome thing, right? Like all this energy of the universe.
That is the only place locally where you can buy the books.
Okay. And what about upcoming events? We're getting ready to wrap up. Is there any book fairs, book signings, anything people should know? We know that your next book is coming out in January, February-ish.
Yeah, we do have an upcoming event coming up.
We're going to be one of the vendors for the one of the biggest book fairs that's in Charleston, South Carolina. It's called Front Page Media. And we're going to be one of the vendors that's going to be there, along with around 150 to 200 other authors or bookish vendors.
As you can tell, my voice just changed because I have no idea what time, when we're going or anything. So boss lady's telling me where we're going.
And it's gonna be the next event for that is gonna be November 8th, and it's an all-day event. It's at the Firefly Brewery in Charleston, South Carolina, one of the bigger breweries. Like I said, there's gonna be about 150, 200 vendors, mixed between authors, narrators, and just bookish vendors.
Great. Send me a link to that, and I'll definitely do some cross promotion as you're getting closer. And I do want to remind everybody that 24 Authors in 12 Hours is an author helping author event. I don't get anything out of this other than the amazing opportunity to talk to some great authors. And I want to just share the link. We do take donations, and we do have some amazing merchandise like this cup that I have right now. Last time I did a show, people said, you know what you should really have? You should have beer mugs. So we added some beer mugs to it. So if you are looking for some 24 Authors in 12 Hours merchandise, please go ahead and check out our products. Feel free to donate. We love donations. And then if anyone follows me at all, I write multi-genre, and all 3 books that I've written solo are on sale right now for Kindle download free. I'll be putting those links into the chat as well. But, you know, this is really focused on Stephen. So, Stephen, as we're getting ready to wrap up, any last minute things that you want to share or talk about that we didn't get to cover? Because, like I said in the beginning, I kind of meander on these a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine. Just that my newest book, Lady Lenora's Secret, as you can tell, this is my author's copy, not for resale, but it is now live and available on Amazon. It is book number 4 in the series. Lady Lenora's Secret does incorporate a brand new FBI agent that I have plans for, that he will go off and star in his own series that's going to be coming out soon, probably a year or so down the road, but he's going to be in his own series it's a murder mystery, but it's going to be around the nation instead of just local.
Oh, that kind of makes it interesting. So you're going to have to fly around to do your scavenger hunt.
Right. Well, yeah, probably.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I really appreciate your time today. It was just wonderful, wonderful talking to you, getting to know you. Best of luck on these future endeavors. I did put the links in here to several of Stephen Jacobs' books, and I'll make sure I follow up. If you could follow us, we are on Facebook, we are on YouTube. I also put the links for Jacobs in here, for Stephen Jacobs in here for his site. You can follow him as well. Thank you so much to everyone, and we'll see you in a few minutes with the next author.
Thank you.